G'day, I'm Melissa Shanhun, founder of Digital Scrapbooking HQ.com, and I'm here in Elements Web to show you what's new with the web companion for Photoshop Elements. Photoshop Elements has come to the web. If you have a recent version of Photoshop Elements, you can access Elements on the web. There's several aspects to this beta tool that Adobe has set up. We've got an overview video, and then you can create collages, slideshows, overlays, pattern overlays, and you can import your media on the web. So you can see that I've already got quite a few things imported in my library here. 2 GB of storage space is included. Today we're going to be looking at some of the new features, but you can check out how the Elements Web Companion works in my previous video here. With the release of Photoshop Elements 2025, we've got some new features on the web. Let's check them out. Let's create a fun text-based creation. Now it's generating the options for us to choose from, and you can see on the left, here's our presets. I think I'm just going to keep it pretty simple, this one. And then I'll just double click to type. Now you can see our text didn't quite fit, so let's just move it around and maybe we'll resize it a little bit so that it fits perfectly. And we can also look through some of the fonts that are available. As you'd expect with Adobe, there's quite a lot of fonts available. And it keeps the recent ones we've used available there. Let's stick with Bungee. That doesn't quite work. I've got an idea. How about if I change it to Sky Sand? Let's see. Then we can use the options here. You can fit or fill and warp our text a little bit. Let's move this down. It's not exactly perfect. Let's make things bigger. Let's go with that. A little bit of a play around, and then we can choose our background. We can either select a color or have nothing. I think we'll go back to the white background that we had there. And you can also reduce the opacity if you would like. So you can see the photo poking through. That's kind of fun. So then I can save. I can name my creation. I can save it. I can download it as a JPEG or PNG, and I can share it either directly to Facebook or via a link. Plus, I can scan the QR code. So Adobe's really helping us integrate our phones with our desktop computers or laptops and the web here. Now, of course, the only other option we haven't looked at is the Replace Media button. We can change up the media back, and then you can see my creation down here. Let's try the new auto background. Let's try that one of Lucy in front of a stone, a plaque perhaps. And here are our options. I don't know about the sky, but this is cute. I think this mountain one suits. Although, where is the rest of that image, guys? So that didn't quite come across as it had hoped. Let's try this one. All right. Somehow they look better in the presets, don't they? Because look, here it is. And it's not quite working as it should. All right, well, they do say it's still in beta. Let's try this one. There we go. Got Lucy. Let's pop her here. And again, you have the same options. You can see before and after. You can save, download, open in the desktop app, or share. That open in the desktop app is new. So after we've saved it, let's give that a go. Just a moment, we are creating the layered document. That's what I like to hear. It says that it wants to open the Elements editor, and I'll click OK. It says, sorry, we can't detect it on your computer. However, it's working. You know, I think, like I said, there's a few bugs that need to be worked out. Again, we have the option to replace the media or change the background. Here we have the background layer, the photo layer, this image layer. So thankfully it brings the whole image in. So I can adjust that if I'd like. And then we've got Lucy, you know. Although I did kind of like it how she was on that edge. Added some interest. And it's saving that image. Let's save the PSD file. It comes down in a temporary folder, so you just want to be sure that you put it somewhere where you can find it again. All right, so let's jump back onto the next option we have here. We've got moving overlay. Let's go with that photo. See how Fatboy Slim works with some moving overlay creations. That music's probably not it. Raining. Well, none of it's really dance, is it? But it gives you a fun idea of how they work. Maybe the target market for Photoshop Elements Web isn't going to a rave. Okay, so we've got our moving overlay. Now let's try our peek through overlay. I think a peek through overlay may look good for this Wallaby. Yeah. Let's try it. Get a few different options here. Some tropical foliage. Yeah, I think this was in Queensland, but don't know. Let's revert it back to the start. So this button here is revert, which completely undoes everything. You can see these highlighted boxes are showing where each section is going. Got wildflowers, got poppy. These are very kind of northern hemisphere centric, or they're mostly either tropical or kind of 4 seasons. You know, do we need some fairy lights for our Wallaby? Probably not. I think that this kind of bulrushes thing is probably the best option, but they do need to be a lot bigger for that peek through effect to work. So we can resize them, and then we can actually click delete to get rid of our fairy lights, because sorry Wallaby, we're not really going to give you fairy lights. I don't know, what do you think about the leaves? Is that too much? Maybe just one lot of leaves with some bulrushes? Or we can move them over so they're less in your face. Let's look at the layout. So we have options here for sharing to various different social media options, which is good. We've got the save function. We can see our before and after. We can download, we can open it in the desktop app. And you can see here each of these sections is its own layer, which is nice. In the layout, we can actually scale the image. So we could zoom in a little more on our Wallaby and then go back to our overlays, and perhaps things would give it a little bit more. That way, I don't know. You tell me in the comments, what do you think of my Wallaby's peek through? Does it give the effect? Should I have chosen a Wallaby that wasn't standing right in front of a fence, or she's actually in an enclosure? You tell me. All right, let's save this. We've already demonstrated the pattern overlay, the photo collage, and the slideshow in my previous video. As you can see, here's the pattern overlay, the slideshow, and the collage. So if you want to go and check those out, you totally can. So I hope you enjoyed that little look into Elements Web. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, click subscribe, and then click on the down arrow and select all so you'll be notified each time I release a new video. And if you'd like to learn more, you can always head to digitalscrapbookinghq.com.